Hi everyone and welcome once again to Ruby's Classic Cooking. And today I'm making fruitcake cookies, which are absolutely delicious and another family favorite. It also makes about 5 to 7 dozen cookies, so you have a really big batch when you're done with this. Anyway, I'm just going to dive right into my recipe and start out by measuring out my fruit. Now, let's see. First of all, I need 2 cups of candied mixed peel. And that's what this is. This is the deluxe assortment. It was on sale this time. And I was shopping 1 cup of raisins, and I'm using yellow golden raisins, so those are in there already. And I'm going to put in 2 cups of the candied mixed peel. Get that going here. There. This kind of gives me a rough idea. 500 milliliters, that is. There. Okay, that's that in. Now, I'm also going to chop up some candied pineapple, which is also candied mixed peel. And I'm just going to cut that up into little bits to go into my cookies. Because these are cookies, I want these to be chopped up quite small. If this was a cake, I wouldn't worry about them so much because you know, you're going to cut them small when you cut the cake up, so, but they should be a little bit smaller than this, go with it, in a cookie. I also have a cup of dates, which I'm going to have to chop these dates. Make sure that I get, first of all, make sure I get the pits out of them, and also, I mean, they're for cookies, so you don't want a whole date in a cookie. And chopped pecans, a cup of chopped pecans, which I also have to chop up. So I'm not going to make you watch me chop up all this fruit. I'll get a start on it here, and I'll come back when I've got it all in my bowl. When I have it all in here, what I'm going to be doing is dredging it with a 1/2 cup of flour. Now what that means is I'm going to have all of my fruit in here. I'm going to mix it together so I have a good mixture together, everything all mixed together in the bowl. And then I'm going to take flour, put it on top, and I'm going to put my fingers through it until I coat all the fruit with the flour. Because just like if you watched my fruitcake video, you don't want all your fruit floating to the top. You want them to be all through your cookies evenly. And the only way that's going to happen is if you dredge it with flour. So I'll go away and come back when I've got this all measured out. Now these dates I'm going to cut up really finely. Like I'm going to cut them in half lengthwise first. And then I'm going to cut them in about 4 pieces. So that makes it about 8 pieces. Each date I cut into about 8 pieces. So really finely chopped. Alright, now I have all of my fruit in my bowl here. And now I'm going to mix it around and get it all kind of all homogeneous here. I'm going to make a homogeneous mixture here of all of my fruits here. So when you get a cookie, you're going to have a little bit of raisin, a little bit of chopped mixed peel, a little bit of date, a little bit of pecan. So here we go. Just kind of stir that all around like that. I'm doing this in an 8-cup, 2-liter bowl, 8-cup pitcher here. So this makes a great mixing bowl to get these all together. All right, now, oops. The cherry I missed. I guess that's because that was in the chopped mixed peel, so I better chop that up. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 1/2 cup of flour and I'm going to use it to dredge my fruit because I want my fruit to distribute itself evenly through the cookies and not all sink to the bottom. So I'm just going to be doing this, and you just do this until all your fruit is covered with flour, and even it might begin to be absorbed any liquid in here. So now you see I have a nice mix in here of fruit. Another cherry I missed. Well, another cherry that was in here in this mixture. And now you see I've got my fruit all nicely dredged. You see how that's all covered in the flour, all evenly coated with flour. And that will keep my fruit from sinking. There we go. And see how it's all kind of mixed together? So when I get a cookie, I'm going to get some of everything in it, okay? Now I'm just going to run away here for a minute, wash my hands and so on, and I'll be right back again. Alright, I'm just going to put this bowl to one side for now. And now I'm going to move on to the cookie part. Now that the tedious part of making these is done, because I have all of my chopping done. This is a half a cup of butter in here. It's softened, and I've chopped it up into little chunks so that it will be easier to beat up in the beater. Now, next I'm going to add to that a cup of sugar. And I'm moving on to my stand mixer here. So 1 cup of sugar, and I'll cream these together in the stand mixer. What that means is I'm going to put them under my stand mixer and I'm going to beat them together using my beater. You can do this with a wooden spoon too. You just make sure that your sugar and your butter are integrated together, so there's no loose sugar and the butter is all nice and whipped and creamy. Now I'll show you. We go from that, and I'll show you what we go to in just a few minutes. Under the stand mixer, or doing it by hand. Alright, now my butter and my sugar are integrated, and see, that's what that looks like. And now I'm going to go back to my stand mixer, and I have 2 eggs to add, one at a time, beating well between each, okay? Then a teaspoon of vanilla goes in, and after I've got my vanilla beaten in, then I'm going to have a combination of 1 cup of flour and a half a teaspoon of baking soda. We're using baking soda this time, not baking powder. Completely different critter. Completely different ingredients. So make sure you've got a half a teaspoon of baking soda. That goes in there. And now I'm going to add a 1/4 of a teaspoon of cinnamon. Now this is optional. If you don't want to add the cinnamon, you don't have to. But they're fruitcake cookies, so I wanted to add a little cinnamon to them. Since I'm using a half a teaspoon, I'm going to kind of eyeball a 1/4 of a teaspoon. Alright, and now I just kind of combine these ingredients together a little bit so that they kind of look a little more homogeneous. Nicely mixed together here. There we go. And you'll notice I didn't put any salt in here because this recipe doesn't call for any salt to go in here. So no salt goes in this recipe. Now, alright, now I'm just going to beat my eggs in here one at a time, and I'll show you what it looks like after I have the 2 eggs in here. Egg number 1 going in. And I've had these eggs sitting out here so they're at room temperature. Egg number 2 going in. There's what my batter looks like after the 2 eggs are in. Now I have my sugar, my butter, and my eggs. Now I'm going to add my vanilla to here, and it says to combine that well. So in goes vanilla, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And don't worry, any metric cooks out there, I will be putting all the metric equivalents in my recipe when I put this in, and it'll be in the description box below. Okay. It says to add my flour, soda, and cinnamon mixture all at once and beat until well combined. Well, beat until all the flour disappears. Start off very slowly so you don't have a cloud of flour going everywhere. Okay. And I'm just going to clean off my batters and stuff with my dirty spatula because I'm going to be mixing this fruit in with it anyway. And there is my finished batter. That's what it looks like. Just need to scrape this down a little bit. Integrate that last little bit of flour into my cookies. There you go. And now I'm going to fold all of this fruit into here. Now this doesn't look like much batter, does it? Well, that's because it's not much batter. It's just to kind of hold the fruit together from falling apart, right? Alright, get in there, you. Now, we just keep mixing this together until the fruit is totally covered with the batter. You want all of this fruit to be covered. That's a little bit of a struggle because there's not much batter and there's a whole lot of fruit, but that's okay. That's a good thing. Make sure you don't have any pockets of cookie dough left that aren't filled with fruit. On my Pampered Chef stoneware cookie sheet, and I'm going to use my Pampered Chef the small scoop, which holds about a tablespoon. This makes a nice and neat little cookie, and I'm just going to scoop them out here on my cookie sheet. And I'm going to be cooking these in my preheated 325-degree oven for 15 to 18 minutes. And I believe that's 163 degrees Celsius, I believe. But don't worry, it'll all be in the description file below. I'm going to pop these in the oven, and I'll be back to show you what they look like when they're all cooked and ready to eat. Hi everyone, and welcome back. And here are my cookies, all nicely baked and ready to come off the pans and cool off so they can be eaten for Christmas. There you go. And I've got lots more batter to cook besides this one tray of cookies, but I'm not going to keep you around while I bake all of them off. There you go. See, there you have fruitcake cookies. Don't those look delicious? They're kind of a plain brown looking cookie, but when you bite into it, they are delicious because they're absolutely filled with fruit. You wouldn't have thought that little teeny bit of batter would make that much of an impression on the cookie, would you? But turns it into a real cookie. Well, I hope you enjoyed my video today on fruitcake cookies, and I hope you'll like. I hope you'll subscribe, and I hope you'll join me next time and see what I'm baking next time in my kitchen on Ruby's Classic Cooking. Bye for now.